The following morning, Sergeant Colvance returned to Jerin's containment room, holding 2 steaming cups. One was black coffee, the other, a mineral-rich ice slurry synthesized by the base's xenobiology lab overnight after analyzing Jeremy's needs. She looked up from the corner, surprised. "You did research?" "I like not killing prisoners from hypothermia," he said, handing her the container through the small transfer port. "Besides, if you're going to talk, you need to be alive to do it." Jerin took the slurry in, both hands cradling it like a sacred relic. "It's cold," she said, exhaling with relief. "Finally." "Let's start with your chain of command," Cole said, sitting across from her on the other side of the barrier. "Who's really calling the shots in your army?" Jerin's expression shifted. "Not who you think. There's a shadow. Faction elders who broke from our primary government when the first contact with humans went sour. They believe in conquest, not diplomacy." Cole leaned forward. "So this war was never agreed on by your full leadership?" "No," she said. "There were peace talks once, early in the conflict, but they were sabotaged. One of our envoys was assassinated. We blamed your side. You blamed ours." He frowned. "I remember that. The Cryora event. Intel said your assassin used human weapons tech. And ours said it was a Terran false flag operation. Now I wonder if both were wrong." Cole felt something click into place. A larger game, a third hand at play. Who benefits from the war? He asked aloud. "Not us," she said bitterly. "Not the civilians starving in the frost zones. Not the humans burying soldiers on alien soil." He stood and began pacing. "Our side's been getting strange orders, too. Forced engagements in areas with no strategic value. Delayed recon reports. Supply chain glitches that make no sense." "Sabotage," Jerin whispered. He stopped. "You think someone's trying to keep this war going permanently?" Jerin nodded. "It's easier to extract power when everyone's distracted." Cole tilted his head. "Extract power?" Jerin hesitated, then reached for a hidden seam in her jumpsuit, retrieving a crystal shard the size of a thumb drive. It pulsed faintly with cold blue light. "This was found beneath the southern polar trench 2 months ago. It's not native to our world or yours. But ever since its discovery, there's been a surge in conflict nearby." He stared at it. "It's a power source." "No," she said. "It's a signal beacon. Ancient tech. Possibly presentient. And when activated, it calls others." Cole felt a chill. "Others. We don't know who or what. But someone's listening. And whoever's feeding this war, they want that call to go out." The room seemed to shrink around them. Cold dread settled between them like fog. "I need to show this to command," Cole said. Jerin held the shard out through the port. "Wait," he said. "Won't you be in danger for giving this up?" She looked at him, eyes steady. "I already am." He took it, carefully wrapping it in thermal cloth. "I'll speak to my CO," Cole said. "But if we're doing this, we do it together." Jerin smiled faintly. A human and an Azari warrior standing against their own war machines. "It sounds like a myth." He smiled back. "Let's make it real." As he turned to leave, the base lights flickered just for a second, barely noticeable, but enough for both of them to tense. Jerin rose from her seat. "They know." Cole didn't respond. He simply walked faster, the beacon burning cold against his chest. Whatever was coming next, they were already in too deep to walk away. The beacon's blue glow hadn't dimmed since Cole tucked it into the secure pouch beneath. His uniform. It hummed softly, almost like it was aware, alive. He couldn't shake the feeling that every step he took toward command was being tracked. When he reached the intelligence center, Major Rylan was already waiting for him. "You're late, Vance." Cole handed him the data slate with the beacon wrapped inside. "Had something to pick up, something you'll want to see." Rylan unwrapped the object, his eyes narrowing. "This is alien tech, not theirs, not ours either." Cole laid it all out. Jerine's surrender, the ancient signal beacon, the strange power surges near the southern trench, and her theory that a third party was fueling the war. Rylan didn't blink once during the briefing. "And you believe her?" Cole didn't hesitate. "She's risking her life. That's more than I can say for most people pushing pins on this warboard." Rylan said nothing, then turned, speaking quietly into his cum. "Security, prep a transport for high-value artifact containment. Sergeant Vance and I will accompany it personally." Something in his voice felt off when they exited into the corridor. Cole felt the hairs on his neck rise. There were no other personnel, no noise, no movement. Rylan suddenly stopped. "You've always been loyal, Vance. I respect that." Cole's hand moved slowly toward his sidearm. "Why do I feel like this is a goodbye?" "Because you're smarter than you look." Rylan spun, plasma knife already out. Cole barely dodged, slamming his elbow into the Major's chest. The beacon clattered to the ground between them, glowing brighter. "You're working with them," Cole gasped, blocking another strike. "I'm saving us from extinction," Rylan shouted. "The ones who sent that beacon there coming, and only those who serve them will survive." Cole tackled him into the wall. The knife fell. He punched twice hard. Rylan collapsed. Alarms blared. Security systems re-engaged. Cole grabbed the beacon and ran. He didn't make it far before a side door hissed open and Jerine appeared, her wrists still glowing faintly from cut energy cuffs. "I saw the alerts," she said. "You're in trouble." "Rylan's compromised," Cole panted. "Maybe more. This place is a nest of traitors." Jerine's expression hardened. "Then we can't go to your command." "Which means we're on our own." They burst into the motor hangar. Cole keyed the override on a scout skimmer and jumped into the pilot's seat. Jerine slid in beside him just as the blast doors began to close. "Where now?" she asked as the skimmer shot into the white storm beyond the base, the trench. Cole said, "Where your people found this beacon. If we're going to end this war, we need to know what's really underneath." Behind them, the base sirens faded into static. Ahead, the wind screamed through ice canyons like ghosts of fallen soldiers. The war wasn't ending. Not yet, but something had just begun. The battlefield was quiet, but the snow still remembered the screams. Sergeant Cole Vance lowered his rifle as the last blast echoed through the icy canyon. His breath fogged against his helmet visor, and his boots crunched over cracked plasma shells and frozen bodies. This skirmish was supposed to be a scouting mission, nothing more. But like everything on Varela 7, it had turned into a bloodbath. The enemy had fought harder than usual, sleeker weapons, better coordination, smarter tactics, but in the end they were still outmatched by human endurance and grit. One survivor, his cum crackled. He followed the ping on his visor. She was kneeling in the snow, an alien female. Her silver armor was cracked down one side, exposing pale purple skin smeared with violet blood. Her weapon was planted in the snow like a broken banner. She was shaking. Not from the cold, he realized, but from the weight of what came next. As Cole approached, his weapon raised, the alien looked up. Her eyes were large, bright blue, and filled with something he didn't expect: fear. "Don't kill me, human," she said, her voice soft, her accent strange. "I'll keep you warm tonight." Cole blinked. Of all the things he expected a warrior to say, that wasn't one of them. He kept his rifle up. "Explain. I am Jareen," she whispered. "Trained to fight, born to die in war. But I don't want to die. I know what your people do to ours. But warmth means something in my culture. Offering it is surrender, a plea. I don't want death. I want life." Cole had seen death, given it, buried his friends because of it. But this was something else. Not weakness, not seduction. It was survival. He lowered his weapon slightly. "That's not how humans take prisoners." "Then don't take me as a prisoner," Jareen said, her voice trembling now, not from fear but exhaustion. "Take me as someone who can help. I know my command structure. I know where they're hiding." Cole hesitated. His orders were clear: kill or capture. But this didn't feel like either. He extended his hand. "Then you're coming with me." She looked at it, stunned. Slowly, she took his hand. That moment, skin to skin. Heat against frost changed everything. They trudged through the snow together, a human soldier and an alien warrior. The wind howled above them like the ghosts of the dead. But there was something new in the silence now. A possibility, a question neither of them could yet answer. Back at the drop shuttle, the other soldiers stared as Cole loaded her in. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was a challenge to every protocol written. "You sure about this, Vance?" his commander asked, narrowing his eyes. Cole glanced at Jareen, already curled into the corner of the medbay, pale and shaking, her eyes closed. "No," he said, "but I think she is." The door closed with a hiss, and the shuttle lifted off. Above the broken battlefield, two species had just taken the first fragile step towards something beyond survival understanding. The shuttle ride back to base was silent, but the tension hummed like an overloaded capacitor. Jareen sat strapped to the far bench, wrapped in a thermal blanket that clung awkwardly to her injured form. The heat units were running high standard for human crew comfort, but she winced with every degree. Her kind weren't built for warmth. Not like this. Sergeant Cole Vance watched her from across the hold, arms crossed, brow furrowed. Her offer still rang in his ears. "I'll keep you warm tonight." He wasn't a fool, he knew what it sounded like. But the way she had said it, there was no seduction in it. Only survival. One of the medics leaned closer to her. "Your skin's freezing. Are you okay?" "I am too warm," she murmured, eyes closed. "She's from an ice-blooded species," Cole explained. "Low body temp baseline." The medic backed off, muttering about biology he didn't get paid enough to understand. When they landed, Jareen didn't resist as Cole helped her walk across the bay. Heads turned, soldiers stared. An alien, alive. That alone was a shock. But walking beside a human as if she belonged, that was almost too much to process. They led her to a containment room with reinforced walls and a single bed. Not a cell exactly, but not a guest suite either. As the guards activated the shield, Cole lingered just outside the transparent barrier. "You meant what you said back there?" he asked. Jareen nodded. "In our culture, warmth is sacred. Intimate. We don't offer it unless there's no other way. It is not just about mating, It is about surrender, trust. He squinted at her. So, you weren't offering sex? No, she said flatly, though humans seem obsessed with that assumption. Cole gave a small grunt of acknowledgement. Fair enough. I offered you the one thing I had left. My warmth, my trust, because I saw something in your eyes. Something that said maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't shoot. Cole stepped closer to the barrier. You're the first one who hasn't tried to kill me in months. That earns you something. She tilted her head. And now, I need to know what you know. About your commanders. About this war. About why your people are really pushing into this sector. She hesitated. What will happen to me if I tell you? Depends on what you say. Jareen sighed, leaning against the wall. My people are losing. Supplies are low. Leadership is fractured. Some want peace. Others want victory, even if it means annihilation. Which side are you on? The one that lives, she whispered. But, if you're asking where, my loyalty is now. I'm asking if you're going to stab us in the back the first chance you get. She stepped closer to the barrier, inches from him, her blue eyes burning. I don't stab those who spare me. You've seen our traditions. We don't forget mercy. Cole nodded slowly. Then help me understand this war, because I'm starting to think both our sides are being played. Jareen raised an eyebrow. By who? That's what I need to find out. And if you're lying, I'm not, she said quietly. Because if I was, I wouldn't be here. I would have died like my squad, with a blade in my hand and your name on my breath. For a long moment they just stared at each other, to enemies, bound not by trust yet, but by the thinnest thread of something dangerously close to it. Cole turned to leave. I'll come back tomorrow. Rest. We've got a lot to talk about. Jareen sank onto the bed. Bring less heat next time, she said with a weak smile. Or I might melt. He chuckled as the door hissed shut behind him, in the quiet that followed. Jareen pulled the thermal blanket tighter, not because she was cold, but because she wasn't. And that frightened her more than the battle ever had. The wind howled like a living thing as the skimmer raced across the glacier. Cole Vance squinted through the frost-caked windshield. The trench was close now, less than 5 kilometers away. Beside him, Jareen scanned the jagged horizon with practiced eyes, her breath steady despite the brutal cold. Up ahead, she said, that ridge hides the mouth of the crevice. That's where we found it. They reached the trench and abandoned the skimmer, climbing down through thick ice and broken stone. It wasn't just a crack in the planet, it was a scar. Something old had torn this land apart. Cole activated a flare. The walls glowed with faint traces of blue, the same color as the beacon's light. Jareen placed a hand on the icy wall. We didn't dig this. It was already here. Buried for centuries. My people thought it was just mineral veins till the first artifact began pulsing. As they moved deeper, the temperature dropped, but the beacon in Cole's pouch began to grow warm, almost hot. They reached a cavern enormous, circular, unnatural. At its center stood a massive structure made of crystal and metal, humming softly. It looked like a machine, a monument, and a warning. Jareen stared. That's not ours, and it's not yours. No, Cole whispered, but it's listening. A sudden flash of light made them turn. A shuttle descended into the trencher's leak. Dark and unmarked. Figures emerged. Human, Azari, and something else cloaked. Pale, tall. Cole raised his rifle. They followed us. Jareen didn't move. No, they were already here. One of the tall beings stepped forward, lowering its hood. It wasn't entirely alien, but not entirely anything else either. Its skin shimmered with faint patterns, its eyes deep and unknowable. "We have been watching," it said. Its voice echoed in their minds. Cole held his ground. "Did you build this?" "We seeded it." "Why?" "To test the worth of your species." Jareen stepped forward. "You fed us war." "No, you chose war. We gave you curiosity, power, fear. You wrote the rest." Cole's grip on his rifle tightened. "And if we fail your test, you destroy each other. As others have, or..." The being reached out and touched the beacon in Cole's chest pouch. It rose into the air and floated to the center structure. A surge of energy pulsed out hot and cold, at once like fire wrapped in frost. Jareen gasped. "It's stabilizing." The energy formed an image above the structure: Earth, Arzari, Prime, and hundreds of other stars linked together. The being looked at them both. Two enemies walked into the storm. One offered warmth, one accepted. That was the first moment of peace. Cole lowered his weapon. "You were watching that moment." "Yes, that moment changed everything." The structure powered down slowly, the image fading. "If you choose peace now," the being said, "we will give you the knowledge to heal both your worlds. But if war continues, this place will vanish, and so will your future." The cloaked figures turned and faded into light. The cavern was silent again. Jareen reached for Cole's hand. "What now?" "We tell the truth," he said. "Together." 3 weeks later, the video transmission of Cole and Jareen standing side by side was broadcast across human and Arzari colonies. They told everything: the beacon, the buried device, the cloaked watchers, the manipulation behind the war. Some called them traitors. Others called them saviors. But the fighting stopped. A treaty was drafted. For the first time in generations, hope returned. On the edge of a quiet base nestled into the ice, Jareen stepped onto a viewing deck with Cole. The wind was calm, the stars bright. No longer enemies, no longer afraid. She leaned against him, her skin cool against his warmth. "I said I would keep you warm," she whispered. "You did," he said, smiling. "But you did more than that." They stood together under a silent sky, their bodies touching, their story written not in blood but in trust, and in the coldest place they'd ever known. They found something warm enough to end a war, together.